What is an API? API stands for Application Programming Interface, is a set of rules that allows different system or applications to communicate and exchange data in real time. How APIs are used in insurance. Insurance systems are typically built as separate modules that handle specific functions like policy administration, claim processing, payments, and integration with external services. Let's see by an example. So, how insurance systems are usually built is basically we build various microservices for each of the functions, such as policy, and then we have all the information in the customer calls. For underwriting, we have a special APIs, and even for payments, we have a specific system, right? So for the claim process, first call would be made to a policy API to check whether the policy is active and valid or not. If it is active, then the second call would be made to customer, where it will fetches customer details such as contact information and history. Once the system fetches all those stuffs and the decision has been made, then further um, payment call would be made, which will process the claim payout to the customer account. So to conclude, APIs act as integration layers that enable seamless communication between core insurance system like policy administration, claims, and third-party services. What is REST API? REST API stands for Representational State Transfer. It's a type of API that allows system to communicate over the web using standards, HTTP methods, and stateless communication. Stateless communication in the sense each request that would be made from the client to the server would be independent and would contain all the information. So every time there would be an authentication that would be sent to the server. So in that scenario, there would be no data related to the request would be stored on the server. That's why they are too fast. So the HTTP methods that are used in REST API are get to retrieve the data, post to create new data entries, put updating existing data, delete, removing data from system. So key features of REST is, as we have discussed, stateless communication. Each request is independent and contains all necessary information. JSON, it uses JSON for sending the data from the client to the server, and even the response is in JSON. JSON, which stands for JavaScript Object Notation for data exchange, which is lightweight and easy to read. Lightweight and fast, minimal overhead allows for quick data transfer and responsive user experiences. Easy integration, standardized approach, make it simple to connect different system and platforms. What is an API response and status code? So API response is the data written by an API after the request is made, containing both the requested information and the result of the operation. Status code shows the operation that has been performed from the server end. So the components of API response. Firstly, the status code. It would be a numerical code indicating whether the request was successful or encountered an error. Then we got the response body, the actual data being returned, usually formatted in JSON structure, headers, additional metadata about the response, such as content type and timing information. The common status code that we usually get in the APIs. So probably as we're using maybe Postman or any other application, Postman or Bruno, the status code that we usually get is 200, which is like success from the server, request completed successfully. 201, that is created, new resource created successfully. 400 would be the bad request, invalid input, or malformed request. 404 is not found, requested resource doesn't exist, and 500 is the server error, internal server error occurred. So let's understand it by an example. Let's suppose the request is get slash policy slash 123, and we get a response body where it showcase like about the policy ID 123, what is the status, what is the coverage, and we also get the status code. Status code here we'll get is 200 OK, that meaning request completed successfully.